Hi, my name is Alas Ranen Asabudin,
And I am Lana Per Albert, and today we will be discussing our topic,
which is adjectives.
adjectives. So what is adjectives? So adjectives is used to describe words or words that modify nouns. Adjectives are more common in use and academic prose than in conversation. Adjectives commonly modify nouns, so they add to the informational density of registers like academic prose. For example, thus HIV infection is likely to remain with us for the foreseeable future. The full impact of HIV infection will be felt over decades. The dust virus that need to spread rapidly in a population to have a very marked and gradually expanding cumulative effect. So this illustrates how adjectives and nouns co-occur in academic prose. So yung mga naka-bold words, sila yung mga adjectives, while yung naka-underline is sila yung mga nouns. Also, this example illustrates the dense use of adjectives and nouns in the academic prose. So what is academic prose? Academic prose is a style of writing that is produced by students, professors, and investigators who belong to an academic discipline.
Characteristic of adjectives. So when we say characteristic of adjectives, it is a certain characteristics are typical of adjectives. Although not all adjectives have all of these characteristics. Adjectives that have these characteristics are called central adjectives. Adjectives with fewer of the characteristics are peripheral adjectives. So there are the three defining characteristics of adjectives. A. Morphological characteristics. So when we say morphological, it is a central adjectives can be inflected to show comparative and superlative degree, as with big, bigger, or biggest. So I have three example of big, bigger, or biggest. Number 1, Tom has a big problem. Number 2, the sea will get bigger as the wind eases down. Number 3, she was my biggest fan. The second is syntactic characteristic. So, syntactic characteristic, it is a central adjective since both attributive and predicate syntactic rules. In attributive position, an adjective is a part of a noun phrase. So, syntactic or syntax, it is a state that rules for using words, phrases, clauses, and punctuation. Specifically to form sentence, correct syntax or syntactic example includes word choices, matching numbers and tense, and placing words and phrases in the right order. Most of the adjectives in this sample are above, such as foreseeable future and full impact, are attributive. Semantic characteristics. So they typically characterize the referent of a nominal expression. For example, blue and white flag and happy childhood. In addition, they are gradable, which means that they can show different degrees of quality. Gradable adjectives can take comparative and superlative forms. For example, close, closer, closest, and can be modified by an adverb of degree, such as very. Semantic characteristics. So they typically characterize the referent of a nominal expression. For example, blue and white flag and happy childhood. In addition, they are gradable, which means that they can show different degrees of quality. Gradable adjectives can take comparative and superlative forms. For example, close, closer, closest, and can be modified by an adverb of degree, such as very. Peripheral adjectives. So peripheral adjectives share some but not all of the defining characteristic of adjectives. And also, we have now looked at the main criteria for the adjective class. Gradability, comparative, and superlative forms, and the ability to occur attributively and predicatively. Those which do not fulfill all of the criteria are known as peripheral adjectives. Frequency of attributive and predicative rules. In use in academic prose, attributive adjectives are an important device. So when we talk about attributive adjectives, so it is an adjective that is directly adjacent to the noun or pronoun. It can modify in English. Attributive adjectives usually come directly before the noun. They can modify. So for example, she has a small car. He has some delicious pie. So we need to use to add information to noun phrases. For example, adjectives are in bold, head nouns are underlined. So So with economic specialization, the development of external economic linkages, division of labor intensifies, a merchant class is added to the
The formation of adjectives. So new adjectives can be formed through three processes. The first one is using participial forms. The second one is adding word endings or derivational suffixes. And the third one is compounding or combining. The first one is participial adjectives. So both ing and ed participial forms can be used as adjectives. Both participial adjectives are derived from verbs. For example, promise na verb plus participial adjectives ing magiging promising. So new participial adjectives can also be formed by adding a negative prefix to an already existing adjective. So for example, ng negative prefix on plus already existing adjective na interesting magiging uninteresting. However, participial adjectives are generally more common with attributive uses. Some of the most common participial adjectives are as follows. For example, ng common ing participial adjectives are amazing, boring, corresponding, encouraging, exciting, existing, following, increasing, interesting, and leading. An example naman ng common ed participial adjectives are advanced, armed, ashamed, bored, complicated, confused, and depressed. Second formation is adjectives with derivational affixes. So noun na chord plus suffix na last is magiging derived adjectives na chordless. Another example, verb na continue plus suffix na ous magiging derived adjectives continuous. Adjectives can also be formed from other adjectives, especially by using the negative prefixes on, in, and non. For example, adjectives na happy plus negative prefixes on magiging unhappy. Other example, insensitive, non-standard. And the last one is adjectival compounds. So adjectival compounds are made from combination of more than one word. For example, adjective plus adjective grayish plus adjective blue magiging grayish blue. Another example, adjective plus noun, adjective na full plus noun na time magiging full time. Adjectival compounds are common in written registers, especially news. So always remember that adjectival compounds are made from combination of more than one word. So for example, in a speech before the balut, Mr. Kovac, whose career includes a stint as an economic advisor to Cuban leader Fidel Castro in 1960s, said he was in favor of socially oriented market policies. So makita natin dito yung adjectival compound is socially oriented.
semantic categories of adjectives. What is semantic categories? Are used to generalize natural language concept, for example, words, phrases. Simple semantic categories generalize words, while complex ones generalize phrases. So there are two major semantic categories of adjectives: descriptors and classifiers. So what is the meaning of descriptors? Descriptors are adjectives that describe color, size, and weight, chronology, and age, emotion, and other characteristics. They are typically gradable. For example, color descriptors: black, white, dark, bright, blue, brown, green, and gray, and red. The second example is size, quantity, extent descriptors: big, deep, heavy, huge, long, large, little, short, small, thin, and wide. So, what is classifiers? Classifiers limit or restrict a noun's referent rather than describing characteristics in the way that descriptors do. For example, relational, classificational, restrictive classifiers limit the referent of noun in relation to other reference. Additional, average, chief, complete, deferent, and direct. Entire, external, final, following, general, initial, internal, left, main, and maximum. Necessary, original, particular, previous, primary, public, similar, single, standard, or top, various. So, affiliative classifiers identify the national or social group of referent. American, Chinese, Christian, English, French, German, Irish, and United. Adjectives in combination. Repeated comparative adjectives. Especially in fiction, two identical comparative adjectives are sometimes joined by and to denote an ever-increasing degree of the adjective. Example, funnier and funnier is a way of saying increasingly funny. Number 1, his own need for food grows slighter and slighter. Number 2, her visit to the country to see her soon become rarer and rarer. Number 3, see the branches get smaller and smaller and smaller. So, B intensifiers good and nice. And so sometimes adjectives are conjoined with good or nice in order to intensify the meaning of the adjectives. Example, good and sorry.
More about attributive adjectives. So, attributive adjectives is an adjective that is directly adjacent to the noun or pronoun it modifies. For example, yes, it's a bad attitude. Bad is our attributive adjective, while attitude is our common noun. Always remember that attributive adjectives usually come directly before the noun they modify. Attributive adjectives can also modify proper place nouns. Example, old-fashioned Episcopalian New York. Old-fashioned Episcopalian is our attributive adjective, while New York is our proper place noun. Less commonly, they modify the name of a person. For example, Little Laura Davis. Little is our attributive adjective, while Laura Davis is the name of a person.
More about predicative adjectives. Predicative adjectives occur with two syntactic rules, which is subject predicative and objective predicative. When we say subject predicatives complement a copular verb, they characterize the nominal expression that is in subject position. Number 1, she seems quiet, nice, really. Number 2, that's right. Number 3, will be easier, quicker, and cheaper. Number 4, the tendencies are not significant and get weaker when data are corrected. Objective predicative. Objective predicatives occur with complex transitive verbs following the direct object. Rather than characterizing the subject, they characterize the objects. Example, direct objects are underlined and the object predicative is in bold. I said you have got all your priorities wrong. The word priorities, it is a direct object, and the word wrong, it is the object predicative. I had it right the first time, didn't I? She had considered it infinitely vulgar and debased. She has since declared herself bankrupt. Most common predicative adjectives in conversation and academic prose. The most common predicative adjectives in conversation and academic prose are conversation, able, alright, lovely, sure, right, good, nice, true, wrong, bad, fine, and funny. Academic prose, able, common, dependent, equal, equivalent, essential, greater, large, low, present, similar, useful, sure, true, difficult, different, possible, and impossible. Likely, important, necessary, clear, small, available, and unbitter. The most common predicative adjectives in conversation tend to be evaluated and emotional. Good, lovely, bad, right, alright, and sure. Sure. Usually express agreement or confidence as in that's right. expression of disagreement, example, you're wrong, are less common. In conversation, a single common adjectives can express a wide range of meanings. For example, the adjectives funny is used for many meanings in addition to its pure meaning of humorous. Other meanings include strange, spoiled, noteworthy. She sounds funny on the phone. Most odd. Told you about her having that dish and it went funny. What's funny about me is that I'm very much affectionate. Most predicative adjectives in conversation do not have complements.
Other syntactic rules of adjectives. Besides their attributive and predicative uses, adjectives can serve several other rules, including post modifiers, noun phrase heads, clause linkers, free modifiers, and exclamations. So adjectives as post modifiers. A post adjective is a part of noun phrase but it follows the head word. Also, post adjectives are most common with compound indefinite pronoun heads, for example, anyone, no one, anything, and somebody. Example, it is a shame if you haven't got anyone musical here. Anyone is our head word, while musical is our post adjective. Adjectives as noun phrase heads. So adjectives can also function as the head of a noun phrase. For example, I think the contrast between the very rich and the very poor in this country is disgusting. So always remember, the adjective noun phrase usually refers to a group of people with the characteristic described by adjectives. The next one is adjectives as linking expressions. So an adjective sometimes serves to link clauses or sentences to one another. For example, worse, he had nothing to say. Adjectives as free modifiers. So adjectives can also be syntactically free modifiers of a noun phrase. For example, green, browns, golden, it flowed through wets and rushes. So free modifiers typically occur in sentence initial position. For example, our free modifiers here are green, browns, and golden, while it is our noun phrase they modify. The next one is adjectives as exclamations. Adjectives often serve as exclamations, especially in conversation and fictional dialogue. Example, great, I need some of those. So meron siyang exclamation mark.